Welcome back to the channel, everybody. So today we got culture shocked Americans share the things they didn't realize were so American. And this is a post by Brainy Dude. Original link will be in it. I don't know why that made me laugh so much. It reminded me of this movie from back in the day called Dude, Where's My Car? Like I don't, us millennials had some wild movies growing up. But with that being said, what's smoking on my dragons? Divine righteous, almighty, greats, overachieving, never slacking. And if I didn't say it already, original link in the description. Here we go. Somehow it's already 14 seconds in. Let's run that back. Okay.
Americans have read it. What is something you didn't realize was typically American until you went abroad? Having your drink constantly refilled at restaurants. I just wanna drink a ton of water, alright. Garbage disposals in sinks. When I moved to the UK, my flatmates asked how in movies people would stick their hands in the sink drain and it'd be ripped apart. I told them about garbage disposals and they were very weirded out. Red plastic cups for parties. So much so that people outside US use them as an accessory to American themed parties. I doubt this is restricted to America in any way, but when I studied abroad in the UK, the lack of public drinking laws was a bit of a culture shock. Being able to walk outside with a bottle of beer was very freeing. Root beer is apparently disgusting and an offense to most of the world's palate. Having plenty of free bathrooms around.
I used to like root beer as a kid somewhat, but yeah, you get older. I mean, I think it's just for me. It really was the sugar. There's so much sugar in root beer that is just kind of drew me away from it. But other than that, I definitely used to enjoy root beer.
For the public to use. When I went to Australia, I found out very quickly that no one down there roots for a team, they go for a team. So when I said I root for the Red Sox, I got a lot of weird looks. Rooting means effing in Australian. Free public restrooms. When I visited Europe, I thought it was the strangest thing that you had to pay to use a public restroom.
Hold on. You gotta pay for that? You gotta pay for that? That's wild. I can't even. I've never been to a restroom that you gotta pay for. That's shocking me right now. You really gotta pay? Wow. Okay. All right.
There's a big shortage of water fountains once you leave the US, I've noticed. Sugar. When I visited Japan, even some of their sweetest desserts pale in comparison to how much sugar is in American food.
Yeah.
Not
That's what I was saying. What drew me back from like things like root beer, certain stuff. The sugar is crazy. The sugar is crazy. And as you get older, you start to, feel it. Like, no, it's just not good on the teeth or the body.
an American, but I can always spot Americans at the airport because they take off their shoes at security, even if it's not required. Portion sizes.
Ew.
My high school senior trip to London. As a typically ravenous appetite 18-year-old, I couldn't get over how small everything was standard. Dressing like to do stuff like grocery shop. Went to the Netherlands for about 2 weeks, and we never saw anyone dressing comfy like, everyone looked nice, everywhere, at all hours. You catch me walking through Walmart at 3 AM and I'm wearing old PJs, whatever shirt I happen to exist in, and I'm probably not wearing socks.
Yeah, I definitely like to be comfortable. I mean, I'm not mad at that. If that's their culture, they like to, dress nice to the grocery store. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But in America, we definitely like to throw them pajamas on, and we like to rough it out a lot. When it comes to chores, and grocery shopping for us is like a chore.
I was struck by the extent to which nobody talks to strangers in Northern Europe. Even in big cities in the US, people will talk to each other sometimes in line, on the subway, etc. Not deep conversations, but it isn't weird to make casual conversation. How large grocery stores are here. My wife is not American, and we lived in China, and were in HK all the time. They had large international stores that were great, and she didn't really grasp the size of American grocery stores till our first week in the USA, and there's 150 feet of cereals on one aisle.
Yeah.
Being friendly to an extent, I checked in at a hostel, and walked into the lounge area where people from all over the world were just chilling. I kinda introduced myself to the whole room, and someone goes, "You're from the States, yeah?" And I'm like, "Yeah, how do you know?" They said, "Only an American will walk into a room of strangers and introduce themselves to everybody." My British
That's how like jobs are in America. Um, you or even in school, like you go through so much. Like they practice you for the world. Like they train you. They give you a lot of practice in communication for dealing with strangers. Like at least when I was going to school, that's how it was. And then you go to jobs and they do these drills where it's like everybody, you know, say something your favorite movie or your name, and like you go through that so much that I think some people, at least Americans, like when they get around others, other people, they feel like that those drills kick in from school and work. But at the same time, I say that, but when I think about it, then there's so much Americans that just don't even want to speak. So I don't know. I guess it just depends on what kind of American you are.
friend makes fun of me for how much cheese I use in my cooking. Doesn't stop her from inhaling my potato casseroles, but there you go. Buying stuff and the cashier putting your items in a plastic or paper bag. Went to Germany and found it strange they don't bag your items. Everyone just brings their own bag or dumps their stuff in a backpack. Measuring walking/driving distance in blocks. It's the unit of
It's getting like that now, where people are kind of have to bring their own bags because they gotta pay for them at the stores. It's getting more so like that.
measure I use most frequently when giving directions. The restaurant is 3 blocks away. Go south 1 block, and then 2 blocks west. I live 6 blocks from the grocery store. It wasn't until I studied abroad in England and got a complete blank look when I asked someone how many blocks away the library was that I realized using block as a measurement only makes sense in cities that were largely pre-planned and built on grid system. aka, not many places outside the US. S'mores. I was in New Zealand having a bonfire on the beach and someone went and grabbed a bag of marshmallows and then everyone just ate them by themselves. And someone from Sweden asked me if s'mores were a real thing or only on TV. I was flabbergasted. This all could be due in part to the fact other places don't tend to have graham crackers. Massively wide roads.
As someone who grew up going to camp, summer camp, for the summer, s'mores, that's a big thing. What was it, like every Wednesday we would do s'mores out in the woods? But yeah, that's as American culture as it gets right there.
Slash lanes. The whole of Ireland made me feel claustrophobic, but when I got back home the roads felt like way too much wasted space. 24-hour stores. It's weird not being able to buy random shit 4 AM. Cold drinks. Every European country I visited the drinks would best be described as cool, but definitely not cold like in the US. It is a Japanese culture to always greet someone as a sign of respect, but I feel uneasy that Americans sometimes looks at you and do a half smile while not saying anything.
I think I might do that a lot. I'll be like, hi, hi. Like I always do this. This how you know if you ever think you run into me, we catch eye contact. But I don't know. Is that maybe I creep people out. I don't know. If I do creep people out, I don't mean to. I'm sorry.
Stereotype about us being loud is true. I never thought of myself as being loud until I went abroad and would hang up the phone after speaking in what I thought was appropriate volume to find everyone around me was staring at me and realized how much more quiet they were. All whoops. Ask any soldier after multiple deployments what one of the most remarkable things about America, and it would be massive grocery stores. Road trips, at least just jumping in the car and driving a few hours without giving it much thought. I live in a large western state, and it seems at least every other weekend my family and I were in the car traveling for a few hours to see some sight. Going to Mexico or another state. I have relatives in Switzerland and they were going to drive us to the Frankfurt airport, and I was blown away how big of a deal it was to them. My uncle had the car inspected, shopped around for gas, and printed off travel and weather reports. All for a trip my dad would have said, "Hey, let's do this weekend." In the car, kids. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. On a related note, no, Vegemite and butter are not an adequate substitution You know who you are. Keeping Akon 100%.
America's peanut butter and jelly crazy. It actually got gets people through a lot of hard times. You know, what I love is like the different. I haven't had peanut butter and jelly in a long time, like a long time. But I used to like the it's like a strawberry jelly or something. Like, dang, it's been a while.
Of the time in the summer, visited Madrid for about a month to see the exchange student we housed and found that they typically only turn on AC at night to sleep or when it reaches a damned 105 degree F. Eating a burger and fries with your hands. I just assumed everyone did this. I went to Sweden with my boyfriend and we stopped at a burger joint. Small local place. When the chef heard we were American, he immediately wanted us to try a specialty burger he made and tell him what we thought about it. They were all excited when we picked it up with our hands and we realized everyone else in the place was using a fork and knife.
We gotta stop right there. No hand fork for a burger. I've never in my life, in my 32 years, right, on this planet, I've never ever seen somebody use a fork to eat a burger. That sounds otherworldly. That does not sound normal.
Burger was 11 tenths. Water pressure. Y'all's showers are like a flower watering pot. I like to feel my shower. Like, make the pressure strong enough to tear my skin off, then back it off like 10%. I grew up in the US and moved to Europe about 10 years ago. I learned quickly to get out of the habit of smiling or saying hello to strangers on the street. I didn't understand why people found it so off-putting at first, because I thought I was simply being polite. A European friend explained that it comes across as funny/untrustworthy and puts people on their guard. It can still be hard sometimes to shake the feeling that I'm being rude by not smiling at everyone I pass by. Here in the States, pregnancy announcements, reveals, baby showers are mainstream, but it's generally a big no-no to bring it up in Kenya. My mom found out the hard way. Essentially, asking someone when the baby is due is the equivalent of asking the person when did you and your husband F, which is considered extremely rude. The lady my mom asked was gracious about it, but said if we were not such good friends I would have slapped you. I'm not American, but visit the US a lot, and I tell you, almost all Americans has this habit of giving the half smile look to anyone. That is not just normal anywhere else. Getting to choose from like 50 different types and subtypes of sodas. Hearing commercials advocating you to go to the doctor and demand a prescription for whatever fantasy pill is new to the market on the radio like it is no big deal. Going out to a restaurant. In America, you are seated as soon as possible, and then they bring you drinks,
Facts.
appetizers, entree, dessert and then check as quick as they possibly can, if it's good service, for a total time of 45 minutes to an hour and a half ish. Staying past this time is seen as a bit rude. In Europe, going out to eat seemed to be more of an event that you slowly enjoyed for a longer period of time. First, they bring you drinks and an appetizer for the first hour. Then the second hour is the entree and dessert. Then it's more drinks for another half hour or so. I don't know if it's because
Yeah, American culture, we definitely rush to the point where I'm trained that way. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I don't. I'm like trained to where I don't like to be places too long. Like I have this mindset of like, you know, and this is gonna sound ridiculous to a lot of people, but I guess of like someone watching you. So it's like I like to, I always like to kind of like just move, be on the move. And, I think it comes from like training my whole life too. Just always kind of move, stick and move, stick and move. Like it's like a mindset I developed with life to where it's like I don't like to be in one spot too long. Even parked somewhere, anything. I just like to move, move, zigzag a little bit. So that's something I wouldn't mind working on. As far as just being more, I guess I am very patient at the same time. Like, but I guess like savoring the moment a little more. Something I could work on.
cause we were American, but it seemed like the wait staff everywhere we went was annoyed that we were rushing them when we just thought it was bad service and didn't understand the routine. The prices abroad don't add tax after the fact. You pay what the price shows. No need to figure the tax. Dumb that we do that here. Shorts. I swear there are 14 million people in Istanbul, and I was the only one wearing shorts. Not American. But I found out that having an electric kettle is mandatory in every home like toilet paper or whatever. Canadian for reference. How are you? Being used in place of hello even with strangers. In the US, how are you needs only to be replied with good, you, almost as a way of saying hi. Elsewhere people don't really know how to respond when a stranger asks how are you doing, or how's it going. I did an art history course in Italy.
In America, you're always gonna usually hear the same thing, especially in the workplace. If you say to someone, "How's it going?" the reply will usually be, "It's going." That's the norm. That's the typical.
What really stood out to me was the size of cars over there. Over here you have a mix of mid-sized sedans and pickup trucks/SUVs with the occasional compact car. Back when I went, compact cars here were incredibly scarce. Over there, it seemed like most everyone drove a compact car with the occasional sports car. I remember counting 6 pickup trucks in the 10 days I was there. For comparison, I can name more than 6 people I know with a pickup here. Parenting roles falling almost exclusively on the mother. Going to Denmark was weird. Almost all strollers were pushed by dads. There was billboards with dads snuggling with their babies, and they were much more loving and affectionate than I've ever seen. How colorful people dress. In pretty much every European country I've been to, people dress with really neutral colors without big logos or graphics. In America it's pretty common to have people dress in bright colors or have a shirt with a cool graphic on it. Europeans dress pretty fashionable, but they aren't very expressive when it comes to clothing.
You know, it's crazy because I actually just seen a picture with someone say back in the it was a picture of, I think it was the 80s compared to now, but it was like showing people's different color cars and how like back then people had so much more flavor, just different colored cars. And then it was showing now how, you know, all cars kind of seem like that kind of grayish silver or white or, but just kind of like the same. Where in this picture from the, I think it was the 80s, it was just like so colorful and just so much more like a pretty picture, so unique. So yeah, I mean that's not really, I mean I guess that can go in with fashion, cars, I guess, right? Stylish. So
Huge amounts of personal space. I know everywhere has the concept of a personal bubble, but for Americans, it's more like a personal iron curtain. Now I can't unsee the lengths that Americans will go to be far away from other people. Next time you get on an elevator or a metro in America, look at how perfectly spaced out everyone is standing to maximize the distance to other
hmm
people.
yep. Well, there wasn't much lies told in this video at all. Um, so the two things that surprised me the most out of this whole video: one, that paying for public restrooms, yeah, that got me because I can't imagine having to pay. Uh, I mean, it's public, so I get it. There's things you got to pay for, but it's like, come on, restroom. I don't know. That's like a necessity. Like people need to use the bathroom, So if you can't go in the bathroom, I mean, I don't without paying. That's kind of wild to me. Um, then the eating burgers with forks was yeah, that was different. I mean, in American culture, even though you see our commercials, everything, it's always, the burger in your hands, home, like home. So I don't know how that works. You just slice it up and just with a fork like that. There's people that really do that, and that's not to diss anybody. It's just it's very like it's very interesting. It's imagine going somewhere and seeing somebody eating a burger and not even for whatever maybe health consumption reason. I don't know, but Just as far as like a culture, they just the fork different. It's very different to me. But with that being said, you let me know what culture shocks you may have had in your life in the comments. And yeah, I'll be back with more soon. If you enjoy this, definitely don't hesitate to hit that like, that subscribe, or that notification bell. And I'll be back with more soon. Everybody have an amazing day.